I've killed my mini fridge 3 times. Let's see if you can count all 13 of my refrigeration violations throughout this video.
Kill number 1.
I drilled my swing-style latch into the condenser line.
Works great.
Not being confident enough to tackle my own refrigeration work, I picked up a new replacement. Lifespan of fridge number 1, 1.9 years.
Kill number 2.
The replacement fridge had an upgraded underfloor mounting system to avoid drilling into the sides and risking another punctured line. I also upgraded the door latch system for the same reason, but with the thermostat set way too high, as I never measured the actual internal temperature, and the condenser lines having nowhere to dissipate that heat, it burnt out the overload protector. I threw in a new overload protector and it returned to life, but it was short-lived. I'm guessing the internal compressor windings probably melted and shorted out. But I had nothing to lose and only knowledge to gain, so I grabbed a cheap mini fridge to test my luck at a compressor swap. The original fridge runs on R600A, which is isobutane, but my donor compressor was manufactured for the higher pressure but less flammable R134A, yes, the same readily available refrigerant used in the automotive world.
Bonus time.
The donor fridge has an external condenser. No more worrying about overheating against the sides of the fridge. Now, R134A and R600A use very different compressor oils, so I did my best to flush out the evaporator lines with compressed air. Now, I've soldered more 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch residential copper plumbing than the average Joe, and my solder joints always looked neat and tidy, but for the life of me, I couldn't get the heat right on this little 1/4 inch line. I was constantly overheating it just in a matter of seconds and burning the flux, which requires a full disassembly, cleaning, and reassembly each time. After too many tries, I gave in and went the highly discouraged route of a brass compression fitting, and of course my pipes weren't perfectly round, so I gobbed a fair share of JB Weld in the connection. By some miracle it worked. Who knows how much restriction I created with my awful joint. But again, it works. The high pressure capillary tube was easy to solder, which was surprising. I stuffed both ends into this long sleeve until they touched, pulled them back about 1/8 inch, and soldered away. The original R134A fridge called for 2.3 ounces of refrigerant, but with all the extra evaporator lines in this much bigger fridge, I opted for a solid 2.6 ounces. Luckily, I had taken some temperature readings from the fridge before I killed it, and came up with these numbers over a 2-hour period. Of course, this was with a starting temperature of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but I compared that with the newly filled R134A, and it looked pretty good, but I figured I would try to add a little extra just to see what happened. So with a new fill of 3.1 ounces, I ran the same test and it actually did worse. But just for fun, I threw a fan on the compressor, ran the test again, and it was actually its best run so far. So I was happy with it.
Kill number 3.
While I had the fridge out, I figured it would be a great idea to add a circulation fan inside. In the end, it was a great idea, and I really love this modification. But while adding the fan, I punctured one of the hidden evaporator lines. That's the sound of leaking freon. And at that point in time, I fully expected to throw the fridge away, but just for fun, I cleaned the puncture joint and tossed on some JB Weld. Now, I fully expected this to fail, but again, I had nothing to lose at this point, so here are the issues with this quote-unquote repair. Firstly, the JB Weld is on top of the plastic liner. The punctured line is below the liner. So now we have 3 dissimilar materials all in contact: the plastic liner, the JB Weld, and the evaporator line. all of which expand and contract at different rates when the temperature changes, and being the evaporator line, of course, the temperature is going to be constantly changing. Secondly, that evaporator line is so small internally that any JB weld protruding into the line is going to cause a massive restriction in flow. So even if it holds pressure, who knows if the refrigerant will actually flow through that pipe. But once the JB weld dried, I threw some compressed air into the system, 63 psi to be exact, and let it sit for just under a week. Surprisingly, it held pressure perfectly, but I 100% expected the evaporator line to be blocked internally. Not wanting to waste any of my R134A refrigerant, I decided to do a test fill with a cheap and plentiful propane. Yes, you can run R134A systems on propane. The original refrigerant in this unit again was isobutane, so flammable refrigerants are nothing new to this unit. And I was so ridiculously happy to see that not only did the repair hold, but it was running better than ever before. Check out these numbers over the 2-hour time lapse. And not only that, but the power consumption was also much lower than it was with the R134A. I so incredibly badly wanted to just keep the propane in the system. I mean, why mess with success, right? But with my questionable repair inside the fridge, there would always be a risk of a leak. Now imagine a small enclosed space filling with propane. Then the thermostat inside that space clicks on and creates the world's smallest spark, as it does by design. Well, now your innocent little mini fridge that your girlfriend sleeps right next to at night just killed the both of you at 3 a.m. Would that actually happen? Probably not, but probably just isn't good enough in this case. So the small amount of propane was removed and replaced once again with safe, boring, non-flammable R134A refrigerant. I ran it on 3 ounces of refrigerant this time, and the numbers indicated the blockage was either non-present or at the very least a non-issue. I also added a compressor/condenser fan, which is controlled by the thermostat in the fridge. And here are the final numbers from that. End of the day, it works. Somehow. In fact, it's been working this way for nearly 6 months. And I'd also like to note that the R134A compressor is nearly silent compared to the original R600A compressor. Anyway, that's the current state of the Van Life mini fridge. Hope you've enjoyed watching my struggle and ridiculous commitment to saving a $140 fridge. Let me know in the comments if you've spotted all of my refrigeration infringements. Other than that, appreciate you guys watching. Let me know any questions in the comments, and I'll see you next time.